now to Andrew Mycock, the reader in politics at the University of Huddersfield. Andrew, welcome. Just your impressions of today. Give us some historical context. What do you make of it?
Well, it's been a unique day in British political history in many ways. I cannot remember the kind of turbulent times that we've seen over the last 24 to 48 hours. And also a Prime Minister quite so resolute at not resigning, not leaving office until absolutely no alternatives were available to him. So I think in many ways, Boris Johnson's departure from number 10 has not been particularly edifying, either in terms of his own personal credibility, his own reputation. But I think beyond that, I think it's damaged British politics more widely. I think that what we've seen over the last 48 hours really hasn't in any way enhanced the idea that British democracy is performing or functioning particularly well.
This Prime Minister won a substantial majority only a few years ago at the general election. His departure isn't about a disagreement in policy, is it?
In many senses, no. Boris Johnson's time in number 10 was defined both by personality and by policy. I think in terms of personality, those flaws in his character and the inability for him at times to be entirely honest when put under scrutiny has been his undoing. But I think that in many senses what we'll see over the next couple of months as we go forward to a Conservative Party leadership is there were also some divisions around policy as well. It's highly likely that all of the candidates for the leadership are going to pick up many of the main issues that define the Johnson era, if we want to call it that. Getting Brexit done, i.e. resolving the Northern Ireland Protocol, but also addressing the cost of living crisis, picking up the idea of levelling up the United Kingdom to share the wealth beyond the southeast of England, but also to maintain that strong, resolute vision of Britain, a global, if you will, on the international stage. But I think there are divisions around this type and the nature of the state that different candidates think. And I think the division is whether they're going to support a small state, a low taxation framework, or there's going to be something which they're going to support a more generous public investment. And I think that that's going to be interesting to see to what extent does policy divide the different candidates.
When political historians, people like you, write the history of these days, how will they write the story of Boris Johnson? What will be his epitaph?
In many ways, there are two sides to the story. The more positive element is that Boris Johnson, in many ways, was a whirlwind in British politics. He was the figurehead of the Brexit campaign. He saw through the idea that Brexit is not just a principle in a referendum, but also as a deal with the European Union could be sealed. And in that sense, he challenged that idea that British politics is in many ways defined by an establishment or an elite. And he changed also the nature of the way in which we see the Prime Minister, a shift towards a more presidential system, you might say. But I think the Boris Johnson era will also be seen as one of almost permanent chaos. He lurched from one crisis to the next. Some might say that he had a lot of very challenging times, not only the COVID pandemic, but also the ensuing crisis from the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. All those things said, often the things that brought the kind of chaos that finally brought the Johnson administration down were very much around his own personal character flaws. I think that in many senses, there will be some within the United Kingdom in the electorate that might think, well, Boris Johnson was an experiment that they might not want to repeat.
Dr. Andrew Mycock at the University of Huddersfield, thank you very much.
Thank you.